A massive discovery has been made deep inside the Oak Island money pit, throwing away all theories made until now. For the first time, real evidence of a man-made structure underground has been found, original and potentially holding something the world has hunted for over 200 years. The data is solid, and the hunt has shifted from what if to what's next. The team from Dumas Contracting began digging deeper into the garden shaft, which was about 23 feet long. The excavated material was not just wet and heavy, but mucky, thick, unnatural, suggesting someone had packed it down on purpose. The team knew what that meant, as it meant someone had sealed something important. Evidence came in the form of pieces of timber pulled from the shaft, dated proven to be from 1735. Water samples drawn from within the shaft showed high traces of gold, not folklore, and it seemed to be the heart of the treasure. The garden shaft was not just a collapsed dig site, but an old, well-crafted structure, sitting only a few feet away from a known underground void. This void aligned with historical theories, suggesting a possible chamber or tunnel. The team reinforced the shaft with new 8-foot sets and climbed deeper toward a total planned depth of 80 feet. For the first time in Oak Island's modern history, they decided to go inside to explore. They entered the inductance spectrum 100 and signals from below are still present. Gary Drayton's metal detector, calibrated to ignore noise, chirped loudly at the base of the shaft, indicating something real was down there. Rick and Marty stood on thick planks, feeling every vibration, knowing they were surrounded by history and possibly treasure. The structure beneath their boots told a silent story, as the timbers were arranged cut with intention, not a collapse. The team had drilled in the money pit region using data from sonar and seismic scans, tracking voids, tunnels, and anomalies. One anomaly, marked at approximately 95 feet, was believed to be a chamber. A tunnel led toward it, which ran westward from the exact area where the garden shaft sat. This stopped the drill and triggered the detector. The season ended when operations paused, but the mines behind Oak Island continued to be explored. The team gathered recalibrated footage, samples, and echoes to ensure precision next season. They decided to drill into the tunnel instead of beside it, preparing for the snowfall and mud freezing while permits were secured. Additional scans shown that there was a possibility of metal content in a number of different zones inside the area, not only in the water, but also embedded in the soil. The term that was utilized was gold signature, and the signature in question were concentrated, which suggests that they were contained or perhaps stored. As a result of this information, a variety of beliefs concerning the Templar Knights, Spanish galleons, and Masonic vaults were rekindled. In addition to serving as a zone for exploration, the garden shaft also served as a point of access and a departure point. When the Dumas team left the island, they left behind the most advanced underground infrastructure that Oak Island had ever seen in its modern age. This was a stabilized shaft that was reinforced to a height of 80 feet and had the ability to breach laterally into chambers that were close. Oak Island, located in Canada, has been the site of a crew that has been looking for a long-lost treasure for generations. Over the course of their investigation, they have discovered hints that something concealed and preserved was concealed beneath the lowest point of the garden shaft. Due to legal restrictions, the weather, concerns about safety, and the passage of time, they were forced to cease operations as the season came to a close. On the other hand, they ended up returning with the shaft, gold traces, wood that had been struck by the drill, and a rectangular image that had been taken by a high-def camera. In preparation for the return winter, which was not a break, but rather a buildup of the garden shaft, the team made preparations. Through the use of Drayton's CTX 3030 detector, which was updated with water-capable coils, it was planned to conduct additional investigations into the box-shaped anomaly that was detected. Across the entire island, the team was not operating in dispersed directions for the very first time. With each map, reading, and sample leading down to the base of the shaft, the search was concentrated on the same place throughout the entire process. With the help of fiber optic cameras and robotic probes, the subsequent operation would consist of reconnaissance, which would involve drilling horizontally from the shaft at strategic depths. A network of eyes would be established underneath to search for cavities, artifacts, and indications of man-made engineering during the subsequent operation, which would be carried out in a sideways fashion. The group was aware that this was more than just a treasure, it was historically significant. Rick, the head of the team, had already begun lining up the team when the first signs of thawing appeared. This would not only include exploring the shaft, but it would also involve logging, scanning, filming, and analyzing it in real time. Community-based First Nations organizations were consulted in order to guarantee that historical sensitivity was respected. When Rick spoke in the final war room of the year, he did not talk about coming to terms with things, but rather about moving on to new chapters. He reminded the group that although they were not the ones who started the story, they could be the ones who ended it. Would it be possible that now is the moment that Oak Island finally reveals its most significant response? Or will the next chapter of The Shaft disclose something even more significant? In light of the fact that the world is not yet prepared for the revelation, the team is continuing their hard efforts to discover the truth that lies behind the riddle.
Templar fortress called Convento de Cristo. It was built in the 12th century. To start their investigation, the group was brought there. Corjan was particularly intrigued by the aqueduct's drainage system, which he thought had served as inspiration for whoever created the Smith's Cove finger drains. The aqueduct drainage system was what captivated Corjan the most out of all the amazing elements that were packed into this massive structure. This link might have seemed a little tenuous, but Corjan had more details. The original church gate, now faded, bore an engraving of a cross surrounded by 4 dots. The sign found on the HO stone on Oak Island had an engraving that matched this one exactly. The HO stone was a fragment of a rock discovered on Oak Island. The boulder is thought to have formerly indicated the location of a treasure, but an accident in 1921 reportedly destroyed it. The lads also discovered another O-shaped sign with a dot in the middle, which is also depicted on the HO stone during the previous week. The group then traveled to a military history museum in Lisbon. They had replicas of the 2 little cannonballs that had been found on Oak Island, and they intended to use the museum's armory to see if they could match the cannonballs to one of the cannons there. The fact that 2 museum employees immediately confirmed that the 2 cannonballs were of Portuguese origin wasn't a surprise to the boys, because they had already heard from a chemist in a previous episode that the cannonball's composition indicated a Portuguese origin. Alex loaded the cannon with the ball once the guys had discovered the right kind of cannon in order to make sure they had the right kind of weapon. The cannon, which was first used in the 14th or 15th century, was often mounted on a ship's deck. The experts at the museum, however, claimed that the gun could be easily taken out of the ship and brought to an island. Have you already subscribed? Do this right away to learn more exciting updates on fresh discoveries made on Oak Island. Given the ongoing instability on the global stage that has existed ever since the New World was discovered, it should not be shocking that the mysterious Oak Island has come to represent a secret trove of royal treasures. Over time, Oak Island has come to represent a secret hoard of royal treasures. 2 of the most convincing responses in this area come from the French and British militaries, both of which are supportive. The British's hostile acts against the French garrison at Fort Louisbourg are the defining element in this interpretation. It's thought that at some point during either of the French and Indian War or the 7 Years' War, the French treasure that had been housed in the bastion during those wars was transferred to the sophisticated vault on Oak Island. 2 very different viewpoints can be taken while examining this line of thinking. Some believe that at some time during the 6-week siege in 1758, the French were able to smuggle all of their treasures past the British boats that were invading and deposit them in the fittingly named Money Pit, which was located within Fort Louisbourg. Some individuals think that the British attack on Fort Louisbourg in 1758, which was successful, served as the catalyst for the ultimate building of the Money Pit, which served as a storage facility. This story holds that the British Army was given the order to painstakingly dismantle the devastated French bastion, pillage its treasures, and bury them beneath an island off the coast of Nova Scotia. You won't believe the recent astounding scientific discovery. To learn more, see the video after this one. Glass from the 18th century was recently discovered deep within a cave. Both professionals, scientists, and other researchers are interested in this unexpected discovery. With the arrival of Craig Tester, who works with Rick